YouTube, welcome to my YouTube channel, Anna Bella, and today I'm going to be reviewing the new movie that is called Dune. Why is there such a fuss about Dune? Well, at one point it was thought it would be completely unfilmable until David Lynch made his masterpiece. I know this is conflicting and controversial and some people hate it, some people love it, but this, for its time, the David Lynch film is an utter masterpiece. I know it pushes the technology to the limit, it has to have some physical effects, but actually it works really well. What on earth has this got to do with the new movie that's come out finally in 2021? Well, I really enjoyed Tiny Pumpkins because of October, but I really enjoyed Hans Zimmer's soundtrack. In fact, Hans Zimmer's soundtrack was in danger of overshadowing the whole movie because one of the reasons why Dune, the book, was considered completely unfilmable before David Lynch made his movie is it's set on a sand planet, which is really difficult to shoot. Obviously, Star Wars put that idea to death with Tatooine being a sand planet, but I mean, we're only on Tatooine for like 5 seconds and then we zoom off elsewhere. But it's really important. I really enjoyed this film purely because a good betrayal, revenge should always be served cold. And this movie took its time. It allowed the world to encompass you. 2 annoying points though. One, I did get bored with the sand, but it's Dune. There's going to be sand. You have to get over that. The background was a bit annoying, and the use of light and shadow was interesting, but it meant that the colour palette of this movie there isn't a great variety. It is a tad bland. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, you can't say that. And I'm like, I can. David Lynch's film had bulldogs in and pugs. The House Atreides had pugs. The Shaddam IV had bulldogs. I'm not going to mention what Baron Harkonnen had as a pet. It's not appropriate. Like much about the Baron Harkonnen actually. Moving swiftly on. Back to 2020. No, is it 2020? Yeah, it was supposed to be come out in 2020. Now it's come out in 2021. See? Pandemic brain. This Dune film, yes, excellent soundtrack by Hans Zimmer. Bland background, it's going to be a bland background, but I really, really liked the use of the sand mouse. The Muad'Dib. Isol. It's so cute. Muad'Dib. Yeah, that's the name of the sand mouse. Yes, I've read the book and I've also watched this. This is the Frank Herbert's Dune. It's 3 episodes long TV series. It also didn't have bland backgrounds. I would just like to point that out. Okay, it is good. The use of the chapter headings in this is really well done. The Baron is like a Shakespearean character in this one. He's just quoting verse all the time in rhyme. It's perfection. Then there is Dune Apocalypse, which is a combination of Dune Messiah and the Emperor, but that's by the by. Never mind that. We're supposed to be talking about the film that came out in 2021, which I've recently seen. I really enjoyed... Oh, yeah, Tiny Pumpkin again. Let's just put them over there, then we won't knock them. I really, really enjoyed the sand mouse inclusion. I love that. I love the use of Shahilud, which is the sandworm. So that's the thing. I also really enjoyed how they did the Mentat with the eyes for the Atreides Mentat. It was just brilliant how and suddenly all this data came out like a human computer. Loved that. That is the moment I enjoyed. Soundtrack was excellent. Mentats were really good. Bene Gesserit on perfection. I'm loving the fact we didn't actually see the hand in the box melting like we do in David Lynch's and the TV series one. I love the fact we just had Paul's reaction and then we had Lady Jessica, the other side of the wall, the door, saying the liturgy against fear. I must not fear, fear is the mind killer, leads to little death, so when the fear is gone, only I remain, on we go. I loved that, and I also loved what the Reverend Mother said to Paul, because she was trying to tell him something, if he was listening, about his mother, the fact that she could boss her about, and she was like, she was my servant. She said, one, that she was a good servant, and two, she was my servant. And she was trying to communicate something to Paul. I'm not going to give any spoilers, by the way, in this review. You're going to have to figure it out yourself, why that is so important, but it is. And then she proceeds to move heaven and earth and the whole universe to save not only the Lady Jessica, but Paul. I'm just going to leave that hanging there for that plot point. What I really liked was, I actually liked how they presented Duke Leto, which is really important because he was actually portrayed as Leto the Just, which is great. He has been in the past, but in this one you actually got to see him being the Duke and walking as a Duke, talking as a Duke, because sometimes David Lynch one felt rushed. The TV movie didn't feel rushed, but you have to allow the thing to run its course, as Madame Mapes says. Love the inclusion of that line. You've got to let it run its course. But sometimes it runs its course so quickly that you don't actually get an appreciation for who Duke Leto was. You don't feel him as a character, whereas this one, actually, we visited Caledon, which was nice to see Caledon. But what is it with the light and shadows? Don't these people have windows? They're always turning sort of like huge masses of stone and looking out directly at air. But hey ho, because I mean, that hunter-seeker can't just come in that way. Anyway, I liked that. You felt like these houses were old, like they were made of stone, which was good. Even though I've just moaned about it, it is good. Also, Duncan, he is a character that can sometimes feel rushed, but actually the fact that Paul's father, Duke Leto, says of Duncan, my son says that you have a feline grace, which just shows you, one, that Paul is very astute and can read characters accurately, two, that his father trusts him, three, that Duncan is phenomenal at an assassin, a warrior, everything. Jason does a brilliant job of playing Duncan, and in fact I like the fact that his role is extended because you actually feel his loss. Another point that I'm going to make is about Paul himself. In the David Lynch one, he is portrayed somewhat stoically, which is how he is in the book. In the TV movie, they change that and make him whiny just because you need to see character development. It's very difficult to see character development of a stone. In this one, they still make Paul feel young, like a young man, and it is due to his lack of experience. Not that he's naive, not that he's whiny, not that he's moaning, not that he's a teenager throwing emotions around, because Paul isn't. Paul is a young man, so he's sort of 18 to 21, maybe 16, 17 kind of age. He's not like a 12-year-old or whiny brat. He is somebody that has been closeted because his mother has closeted him away, hence why he's so good with the Bene Gesserit and weirding ways, but also because he's the only son. The Jessica crime that Lady Jessica has committed is massive, which is why the Reverend Mother is freaking out and having to move heaven and earth and the universe to save her and her son. It's phenomenal. I really enjoyed the fact that Duncan his part was extended. I also really enjoyed the fact that Paul was shown to be a young man due to his lack of experience, even though when he was given responsibility, like, come, it's time for you to sit at the table, council table, and see how I do things because you're going to need this. All the little signs, all those little moments, the fact that he's called a young pup, even though they didn't have much of that young pup line because it's in the book, but in this one they sort of say, mood, mood's not fighting, you can't be in a mood. If you need to fight, you're gonna fight. It's like all the characters are trying to say to him, look, we're going to a dangerous situation, you need to be on your A game, to be alert like a mouse, and you also need to, if you need to fight, you're going to fight for your survival. It's not out of, a glorious need to be the best or anything like that. You are going to fight for your house's survival, your family's survival. And it's fascinating. The sleeper will awaken. Ah, wonderful. But I did enjoy Duncan's line. It says, dreams are great and everything, but the most important stuff happens when you're awake. And that's important. Just all these subtle hints. And I'm loving the fact that Chaney actually had a voice in this, because obviously in the David Lynch film, the Princess Irulan, the oldest daughter of Shaddam IV, the Emperor of the Known Universe, gives a wonderful introduction because she is a noted historian. She's literary bent, she writes beautiful histories, has a vast library, and she spends her life recording the words and sayings of Paul the Muad'Dib, and also the history of his family, her family, and everybody else. So not only is she like a historian, she's also a record keeper, she's also a genealogist, she's so important. But back to Chaney, who is Fremen, you actually get a sense of Fremen culture. It's the fact that Duncan is so accepted by the Fremen, which shows you that the great respect that the Fremen have for House Atreides, their honour, their justice. And it's interesting that the Duke later says these two things. He says, there is no faith that we betray. There is no call we do not answer. There is no call we do not answer. There is no faith that we betray. That is the Atreides motto. That is why they are going. And it's like, we've got to go. I can't back down. There is no way out. We have to face this. And it's interesting that in other versions we have the Duke explaining to Paul, yes, this is a trap, but knowing it's a trap is actually a way of saving yourself, because we can think, how are we going to get out of this trap? And it's interesting that the Reverend Mother says to Jessica, I can save you, I can save Paul, he might be worth saving, I cannot save the father, he's got to go, I'm sorry, type thing. There's so much more I would like to say, but I'm not going to because I don't want to spoil it. But this movie was a little slow with its pacing, and I fully get why it was, because this story is phenomenal and you actually want to savour every little bit, even if it's bland, with the background being bland, but that's by the by, it's set in the desert, we need to get over that. The blue eyes were brilliantly done. I'm loving the fact that they actually changed Dr. Kynes' gender and also ethnic origin. That was beautiful. That's a bit of casting that worked, and actually worked well. Sometimes a change of gender can cause issues, sometimes a change of race can cause issues, or ethnic background, or whatever you wish to call that. This was phenomenal. It's going to set the tone for the rest of the movie. I'm going to love it. It just worked. Absolutely worked. Brilliant. And also they extended Dr. Kynes' part as well, which was brilliant. So I think that that's fantastic. But it also, by extending it, you kind of felt that they were rescued twice, which was a bit annoying, but that's the way it goes. And I'm loving the fact that they were like cocooned in that tent thing under the sand like the little mouse. Yeah, the mouse is important, it really is. I'm hoping that this is going to turn into a trilogy, because actually you can make 3 acts. You can make betrayal, you can make action in the sieges, that's what I would call it. That would probably be a better name. And then I would make the third one another name, which I'm not going to say because I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it. Because Dune is phenomenal. I am hoping it's going to be a trilogy. If it's just 2, that's fine, because I think we can, but actually I think we can get 3. If they go further, that's going to be really interesting, because some of the stuff that happens later on with Paul's children is A, traumatic, and B, like, what? But hey ho. And then there's business with his sister, cough cough, Alia, who is also intriguing. But it's interesting that the Reverend Mother said you were supposed to have a girl, and what does she do as soon as she gets to Dune? She's like, oh yeah, I'm going to have a daughter, because that might be useful at this juncture. It's just like only like 5 years too late. Yeah, anyway, I enjoyed the movie, even if I did find the audio a bit difficult. I don't know what it is, but Hans Zimmer's soundtrack was like drowning out all the speech a bit. And also, I don't know what it is about putting, let's put everything in darkness. I'm like, this is wonderful. And I'm loving how they did Paul's visions. I love that, with him standing in the light. Oh, it was phenomenal. Some of it was really great. Sometimes it was like, what on earth am I looking at? Oh, the burning of the palm trees. So sad, so sad. That was just devastating. Because normally it's like a domed garden, like the Eden project inside the palace. This time there was just palm trees on the outside. And Paul madly walking in the heat. There was some really, really good stuff. It is slow paced. There is a reason for it. Do stick with the slow pace. It is supposed to be that slow. Trust me, the story warrants it. If you rush it, I mean, we could all watch the David Lynch one and be done in 2 hours and you'd understand the plot, but you will have missed the grandeur of it, because betrayal should be cold and certain things you should not find out until later. Anyway, please like, comment and subscribe. Stay safe where you are, and I hope you have a great October/autumn/Halloween season.